Hi students. I found a cool book in the little corner library down the street and I wanted to share it with you. It's called Animalia. And it's got a bunch of different little stories, one-page stories. So I'll read the story and I'll show you the pictures. Okay? Oh, look at this old beaver guy with the book. Cute. This book is written and illustrated by Barbara Berger or Berger. All right. This is the first picture. Very pretty. Breath, life, and soul were known as anima in Latin. Our word animal comes from this. There are always people who live in harmony with Animalia, kingdom of the animals. Many have been saints and sages who live in legend still. Each of these 13 small tales is a bit of their old lore retold. Lore is like stories that are passed down from generation to generation. Here's the picture again of the deer and the birds in this beautiful little nest. Here's the next story. And this is Rose. Let's read about Rose. Rose was in the garden when she heard the nightingale. She echoed with a song of her own. The birds sang again, and Rose sang too, in her turn. Thus they passed the hour, singing an antiphonal duet. Rose let the nightingale sing the last soaring notes. Then the bird flew to her open hand. Rose said softly, "Your song has no compare. Are you an angel in those plain feathers?" The nightingale shook himself and vanished. Only silent light was left for Rose to hold. Do you think that little bird was really an angel? We don't know. You can decide. Okay. Here's the next picture. I see a snail and a bug. Lots of little creatures. This is a cool illustration. St. Francis walked from place to place with care. Often he saw a small creature on the road, a beetle, an earthworm, a spider, or a snail, a centipede, or a lazy toad. He would bend down and gently lift the little being to the roadside, far away from the horse's hoof and the wagon wheel. Here he would let it go. "Peace be with you, little brother," he would say. Ah, he's treating all creatures kindly. Isn't that nice? Very cool. Okay, ooh, this one's called Dragon's Eye. What an interesting and beautiful illustration. Look at that dragon. Okay. Petra lived in a cave with no one near but the wild animals. Any of them who came to her in need found care, for the art of healing was in her hands. She bound broken legs and wings and tended many ills. The animals had only to trust. The animals had only trust to give her in return, and Petra never wished for more. One day, a young dragon came to her cave, moaning abysmally. While other creatures fled, Petra sought the source of pain. In one deft stroke, she pulled a thorn from the dragon's eye. Ow! Sighing in gratitude, "Oh, thank you," The dragon lowered his head to the ground. A fiery jewel rolled from his tongue at Petra's feet, and ever after she was glad for the warmth it gave. Oh, the dragon was so thankful that she took the thorn out of its eye. He gave her a jewel that would keep her warm forever. Maybe the other little animals around her too. That's beautiful. These are nice stories. Okay, this one is called A Choir. I wonder who the singers are. What do you think? I think they're the frogs. And maybe some of the other creatures. Let's see. Brother Benno was walking along, chanting his prayers. He came to a marsh where the frogs were chanting too. Their sound was so great that Brother Benno could not hear himself, so he said in a loud voice, "Be still!" And they were. In the stillness, Brother Benno began to feel very small. He thought God might enjoy the chanting of these frogs more than my prayers. So he said to the frogs, "I'm sorry for being so rude. Please go on singing as you wish." One by one, the frogs began to croak. Soon they were a choir of sound again, and Brother Benno listened. So at first he was annoyed by the frogs. They were too loud for him. And then he thought, wait, that was a nice song. Let me hear it again. Here he is again with the frogs. Brother Benno was a monk. The next story is called The Fly. And here are the people in the story and the little fly. The son of a king came to a cottage where a maiden welcomed him. She brought a steaming pot and poured a cup of tea. Just as the king's son was about to drink, a fly fell into his cup. The maiden gasped and rushed all aflutter to seize the cup from his hand. She scooped the fly out on her fingertip. Then she blew long and gently on the fly's wings and countless fine hairs. Soon the fly was grooming himself with his legs. So the maiden nudged him onto a windowsill. Only then did she return to her royal guest to pour him a fresh cup of tea. She saved the fly from the cup of tea. That was very kind. That was very kind. This story is called Happy Goldfish. There they are. Now, in this story, a sage is a wise person. A sage is a wise person. Having trouble with my tongue today. A sage and his friend were walking by a pool. The water was cool and green and deep, and in its shade the goldfish shone like fragments of the sun. The sage watched them for a long time. At last he smiled and said, "They are happy." "You are not a goldfish," said his friend. "How do you know they are happy?" The sage said, "You are not. You are not I. So how do you know that I do not know that they are happy?" Get it? He said, "Only I know. Only I know that they are happy." The sage knew. And look at this illustration. It shows his beard dipping into the water and making little ripples. That's kind of cool. Okay. The next story is called Sister Hare. And we're not talking about this kind of hare. We're talking about a rabbit hare. It's a kind of rabbit. And here are the pictures. Sister Hare. But there's no hair there. Here's the hare. Sister Hare. Here we go. Oringa was lost in the forest one night. Fear gathered the shadows around her heart, but all she could do was sit down among the roots and wait the darkness through. All she could do was sit down among the roots and wait the darkness through. Wait till morning, that's what she means. A hare came toward her, tall ears turning to every sound. But hares live in the open, not in a forest. Oringa whispered, Sister Hare, are you lost too? Calm as the moon, the hare came and settled in Oringa's lap. And the long night passed in the comfort of her company. At dawn, Oringa followed the hare. She led between shadows and over the roots into the open and home again. The hare showed her where she lived. Lovely. Okay. Let's see. The next one is called Dream. Oh, it's so cool. Look at this beautiful illustration. Looks like a man who's also a butterfly. Once upon a time, a philosopher fell asleep. A philosopher is a person who thinks about things and knows a lot of things about what they think. Once upon a time, a philosopher fell asleep. He dreamed he was a butterfly. From flower to flower, he fluttered in the bright air. Resting at the center of each one, he unwound his spiral tongue to taste the nectar there. Then the philosopher awoke. He asked himself, was I a human being asleep who dreamed he was a butterfly? Or am I now the butterfly asleep who dreams he is a human being? Okay, here we go. A couple more. This one is called Sea Friend. Sea Friend. Oh, look at that. Oh, it looks like a little otter. Oh, cool. Okay. Sea Friend. There was a monk who lived by the sea, where the breath of distant whales sounded near. He would stand in reverence all night in the waves, and otters came to play around his feet. By day he went out in a little boat. If a whale came close, he calmly thought, we are made by the same hand, you and I. Once he dropped his book overboard, and it sank. His heart sank with it, for in those days every word was handwritten. A book was a treasure indeed. Before long, an otter brought the book alongside. The monk reached down and found his treasure dry. Not a single word was washed away. Then the otter was gone, leaving only a ripple upon the waves. Sounds like a magical otter. This whole book is magical, isn't it? The monk had dropped his book that he had written with a pen into the ocean, and the otter brought it back to him. Okay, looks like 3, 4 more. Okay, this one's called Doves. Here's the picture. Why is she crying? We're going to find out. In China, there was a prince who showed his kindness by setting doves free. Once a year, the air was filled with beating wings. But a tear shone on the cheek of his bride, and the prince asked her why. Dearest, she said, the doves are freed because they are caught, and they are caught for you to set them free. But in the nets, wings and necks are broken. Many doves die. So the prince ruled that doves were never more to be captured in his land. Every year they came freely, in a splendor of beating wings, to coo in peace upon the palace roof. So he didn't catch them anymore and keep them in a net. They just came by themselves to visit every year. And his wife was not sad anymore. Okay, this one's called the Stag. A stag is a male deer, a man deer. There we go. Boy deer. Deep in the forest, St. Godric lived alone, his hut hidden in briars. One day he heard a horn in the baying of hounds. Oh, and the baying of hounds on the hunt. Hounds are dogs. So dogs were hunting. Suddenly a stag bounded to him, magnificent and trembling. Godric led the stag into his hut. Then he came out, shut the door, and sat down. The dogs were leading the men to the deer, to the stag, so they could shoot him. But St. Godric didn't want them to do that, so he hid the stag in his little hut. Soon, a frenzy of hounds surrounded him, but Godric was still. The dogs could not get by him. When the hunters came, they asked, "Where is the stag?" Slowly, Godric opened his eyes. "God knows where he may be," he said. This is a holy man, the hunters thought, and a holy man does not lie. So they gathered their hounds and left. When the forest was safe again, Godric opened his door, and the stag was free. He saved the stag from the hunters. This one is called Swan. And then we have one more. Oh, here we go. Here's the pictures. Beautiful pictures. Look at those beautiful birds. Aw. Nice. Okay. Prince Siddhartha saw the wild swans one day, flying white as clouds over the palace. His cousin took a bow. His cousin took a bow. This is multiple meaning words. His cousin took a bow, drew back the string, and let an arrow fly. One swan fell. Siddhartha's cousin had shot the swan with an arrow. Both boys ran, and the prince came first to the palace where the swan lay. She was still alive. He took her in his arms and pulled the arrow from her. "Give the swan to me," his cousin said. "She is mine, for my arrow brought her down." Siddhartha gave the arrow back and said, "Let us seek the counsel of the wise." The palace wise men weighed the question carefully. Then the oldest of them spoke. "A life does not belong to the one who brings it harm," he said, and all agreed. So the swan remained in Prince Siddhartha's care, and when her wound was healed, he rejoiced to see her fly again. So Prince Siddhartha nursed the swan back to good health until her wound was healed, and then she flew away. Okay, here's the last story. It's called The Turtle. And here are the illustrations. I see fish. And I see a big turtle. Long ago, a sage came to a great river. There was no bridge and no boat to carry him across, so he walked along the shore. Soon he found a large turtle in a trap. The turtle's shell rose like a dome of jade. The sage knew that this was a being far more ancient than himself. He set the turtle free. At the water's edge, the turtle waited, looking back at him with a timeless eye. The sage understood. He stepped up on the turtle's shell. The turtle swam out into the river, bearing the old man in steady grandeur to the other shore. The turtle gave the man a ride across the river on its back. I think the turtle was saying thank you to the sage for freeing it from the net. And that is the end of the book. That was a really nice book. Hope you enjoyed it. Animalia by Barbara Berger. Have a lovely day.